Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of the Drunken Tomes, our replacement for Nude Clan After Dark this week. Guys, this time we are going to be reviewing Frank Herbert's Dune. This thing came out in the 60s. It's widely perceived to be like one of the best science fiction books of all time. Reading it definitely made me thirsty, I'll say. So, I mean, it's written in a great way.
Oh, yeah.
That really portrays the excellence of water in this planet. So, really I'm excited to get into that.
Really made me want to find a still suit so I never lose any of my precious moisture.
Yeah. What would you do if you were, like, getting it on? Would you have to have, like, a suit that you, like, hook up to your... The significant other, so you just like zip yourself in, and then all of the moisture is just like.
I mean, they did get it on several times in the book. I think they don't use the suit, but who knows? Pleasure suits, right?
See, no, that just seems like a.
Right. You don't hook your suit up when you're in like the CH.
Yeah,
it's like
on,
but it's like
you only do it right before you're gonna go outside.
See, that just seems like a waste. I mean, it's not as dire as it could be, is what I'm
because they have water. Yeah, they have water at the CH. It's when they're out in the middle of the fucking desert in Arakeen.
All right, I don't know.
Okay, so when the book started, it kept saying Dune, Arrakis, desert planet, and I was like, I'm gonna go nuts if they keep doing this, because they did it like 5 times in a row in that first chapter, and I was like, oh my god.
For me, the majority of the book was very much just like a radio show narration thing.
Some of it,
with all the different voices and then the sounds of the background.
I wish they were gonna do the voices the whole time, but no. Simon
I did
Vance
as well.
was like 90% of the book still.
Yeah, which is okay, because I'm used to Simon Vance. He narrated the Lightbringer series.
Yeah.
Simon Vance is really good, but those other guys were really good too. So that was like a weird thing, and I liked the sound effects a lot.
I don't know why they did that. Also, the sound effects, I don't know. Sometimes
I liked it, dude.
Sometimes I feel like it interfered.
Them.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can see that as like a background thing.
Really
it was interesting
down,
sometimes,
though, for sure.
Yeah, but like there was a part where like the sound and like what was happening was kind of conflicting, or like
I had to listen to
the sound was trying to make this thing eerie, but like the part that was happening wasn't.
Yeah, like I definitely had to listen to it on normal speed because otherwise it didn't sound good.
Yeah, the wind is just.
I just kept waiting for them to play Darude Sandstorm at some point, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah,
Darude, Craig.
Is that how you say that? I don't know.
Darude.
I've never heard that word said, so I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe everyone else is wrong and you're right.
Maybe it could be
because we're just reading it with English in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of Craiglish. So the book starts out with on what's the planet name?
Caladan.
Yeah.
Caladan, yeah. So it's a normal place, except for everything's super futuristic. Obviously, it's science fiction. So
my mind
it's either
kept trying to do like medieval futuristic. I don't know why. I kept imagining like castles, but with technology.
That's basically what they describe.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because it really does feel like that's what they were going for. Because like especially when they get to Arrakis, like all of the places there are described as being like fortresses and castle-like. And
in the sequel they describe it as a keep as well. So they keep that fantasy like wording throughout.
Plus they still have, like, physical combat where they're using, like, daggers and swords and stuff, except for they have, like, personal force fields.
Yeah.
Instead of just constantly using, like, guns and things like you'd think they would.
Yeah, it's like fucking swords and guns really don't play a part.
I think the reason is because
they call them laser
guns.
Guns.
Laser guns, yeah.
But I
laser
don't
guns.
think they work the same as regular guns though. The way they describe those guns.
No. I think
Because
those
they're
guns were,
nuclear.
like,
They're
heavy
nuclear. They're nuclear powered.
weapons.
Because they talk about if you shoot a shield with it, it makes a nuclear explosion, and that's why you're not allowed to use laser guns. And that's why like there's a thing where they talk about you can't use
And
laser guns.
they're
because of that.
stockpiled atomics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I think the reason that they don't use guns is because the way he described the shields is like, if the thing is moving too fast, then the shield will just like block it.
Yeah.
So they use physical weapons because they're not as fast as like a bullet or
Because they can
laser would
slow
be.
down, yeah. Which comes into
Yeah.
play when he's fighting Jamis for the first, like when they fight, because he doesn't know what he's doing because he's never fought with someone without a shield before.
Yeah. He's still too shield trained, so he's like moving as if the other person had a shield the whole time,
Yeah.
and it makes him too slow.
Yeah, so the story of this thing is you follow the Atreides family, and on their home planet of Caladan, really when this thing kicks off, the main character is visiting. I always just call him Muad'Dib now, but
Yeah.
Paul.
Paul. Yeah, they all have really standard names. I'm like, oh, this is a standard name thing, and then suddenly I was like, oh, fuck me, no, it's not. So Paul
He's
Atreides.
Muad'Dib now.
Yeah. Honestly, he's just
Usul.
fucking.
The Lisan al Gaib.
Yeah, he's the. Fuck, what's that guy? The guy during World War I who fought like to really help the. Fuck, I can't. The name is on the tip of my tongue. We played as him in Battlefield 1.
Lawrence in Arabia.
Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, that's exactly who this guy reminds me of.
Eh?
Like, totally Lawrence of Arabia.
He does have a similar kind of story to him, I guess. Other
Yeah,
than the
yeah.
religious
Felt like-
connotation.
It kind of felt
that's
like
true.
a small mashup of World War One meets Star Wars, but a little bit of Desert Storm meets Star Wars as well.
Yeah. So you start out with Paul Atreides, and he visits the. It's like the village elder, or like wisdom, or like
No, I'm pretty sure
magic
No,
person.
she's the she goes to theirs, but she's the Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit. Reverend Mother
Yeah, then they're-
Mohim.
And her mom,
they're like,
his mom is like of that order, so she has to like
Yeah.
basically do whatever she says.
So yeah.
And she like brings Paul to them, and he has to put his hand in this weird like, and this like fucking.
The
whatever that
Reverend
thing is
Mother
called
is
from-
testing him to see if he's human, and she uses the what is that called?
I can't remember. That's like on the tip of my tongue too.
Yeah,
It's reminiscent of the thing that they use in fucking like Superman to banish people.
the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, the Phantom. It's like the Phantom Zone, but it like causes physical pain. And so at first I was like, oh, this is going to be like Blade Runner. Like, what is human? And then it's like, no, it's not at all. So they're testing Paul to make sure that he's human.
Which is more of like a state of mind and ability rather than genetics.
Yeah.
It's the Gamja bar.
The Ganja bar. But yeah, he sticks his hand in this box, and I guess it just like pinches the nerves in his hand, and instead of like
And if you
damaging
move
him
it's like
in
a-
if
that
you
way.
move
It's
your
like the
hand,
pain
you get a
field thing from Star Wars,
neurotoxin too.
Yeah.
Which something that I'm wondering if it is actually poison, and because you know how like later on in the book, Jessica gets that like ability with like the poison stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what it is, and then the Reverend Mothers manipulate it because like if they move, they're like, well then obviously like you're not worth it, and so they let it poison them all the way, and then if they're not, like if they do pass, they're like, oh, and they like change it. Because it never explains anything about that. Except for it's like
when she changes the water.
yeah, when she changes it from the poison to the whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, the Reverend Mother said that she would kill him if he
Yeah, with the
pulled
poison.
his hand out.
Because there's because there's a thing in there. There's a needle in there. That's what it is. That's got the poison on it.
Well, you don't know what's in the box is the point. 'Cause she says, there's a lot of people that would pay a lot of money to know what's in this box.
Yeah, to know how to get the poison.
I don't know if it was specifically for the poison. They just
Because
want to know the secrets of
Gom
it.
Jabbar is because at the end of the book, when Alia has it, it's a needle. And that's from the Gom Jabbar.
Yeah, well, either way, it's like a test to test your humanity, pretty much. And he passes it, and then him and his family, they're kind of moving to this new planet because they're like, his dad's a duke, so he's got his own little zone, and it's like a really political move that he's pulling off. But he's like, I want to move to Arrakis, this desert planet.
He doesn't want to
that's
go
kind
there.
of-
The Emperor tells him to.
It's
the
like
Emperor
weirdly under
basically
siege
told him that he's changing
by
his
some guys that the Emperor doesn't really care for, and so he's allowed to. He kind of moves into this land, and
he's moving.
he is mainly going to use it for harvesting what they call the
Spice.
Spice
what is it,
melange.
like the dust? No, the spice. That's what they call it. And so they're moving there to make their riches, pretty much, on spice, which is a huge export that a lot of people are really into, and that's basically the only thing the planet has to offer. But the planet's like a brutal fucking zone.
So Dune is the only place you can get spice. Arrakis is the only producer of that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like really, really brutal. So the buy-in is really, really high. But Atreides, Duke Atreides says, we're doing this thing. So they basically move to Dune, and while this is going on, we get the view of another Baron. So another political figure who also wants to move in on Dune, but he kind of wants Atreides to get in there too, because there's like a plot from the Emperor to kill Atreides.
Oh, you mean Darth
because
Baron
Atreides
Tubby,
is
the pedo?
Peditub. He's in league with the Emperor, and they're basically trying to take out the Duke Atreides, because he's becoming very, very powerful, and like if he can get this spice operation going, like he's going to have a lot of wealth and a lot of influence.
Well, the Harkonnens
and
controlled Arrakis before the Atreides did.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they swapped it.
They're using Arrakis as a easy place to get rid of the
Duke.
to
But
get
as
rid
well
of
as
the Atreides.
the Baron's the one that came up with the plan and wants him dead first, and he plays in with the Emperor.
Because there's always that bad blood between the Harkonnens and Atreides.
Yeah. So he's kind of he's kind of becoming really successful. So they want to cut him off at the knees because they can't control him pretty much. And so he goes down to the planet, and they kind of set up their base of operations. And then while they're doing so, I mean, you kind of get these weird vibes coming from the like planetologist. He seems really suspicious at the time. And then also within the Duke's own house, he has what is that guy, like the fucking
Which guy?
the guy that betrays him?
Huey, Dr.
Huey?
Huey.
Yeah, the doctor that's been part of their house. He's like basically betraying Atreides, and he's like
So
he has some
the
really weird
doctor-
conflicting.
He's betraying him because he wants to kill Baron, the Baron. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
take
Well,
his hand.
Baron Harkonnen killed his wife, and he knows it, and so he
Huey-
wants revenge on him.
Is Huey a mentor?
No, Huey is trained. I can't remember what they call him. He's a conditioned doctor, and they're not supposed to be able to like break the psychic conditioning.
Imperial, the psychic conditioning. But the Baron, the Harkonnen Baron, found out how to break it, and it's really stupid, in my opinion. To break him, all you have to do is hold his wife hostage and tell him to do what you want him to do, and then the urge for revenge takes everything else over. To me, that sounds like a plot hole, but
Yeah, I really liked his character though, because I thought
think
it was
more
interesting.
supposed to be emotional overcharge.
But, yeah.
And he knew that the Baron was lying and that his wife was dead. So I think that's more the thing, is like that he knew she was dead, and he just wanted the confirmation.
So what happens with this Dr. Huey is he's basically Huey, sorry. He's infiltrating the people he serves, but the reason why he's okay with the betrayal is because he knows that the powers that want the Duke dead will kill the Duke. And this way, with him betraying the Duke and kind of helping the Tubby McMolester face, he has a chance to kill him. And so his whole thing is, well, if I would have said no to assassinating my Duke, who he actually does care for a lot, he would have died anyway, and then he would have never had the chance to possibly exact his revenge on the man who killed his wife. So it's really a really cool plot point. But
what I like about that too is like after when he like ambushes Duke Leto and like is talking to him, like when Leto's like waking up in between like all the anesthetic and stuff, he's just like, I didn't want this to happen to you. Like I'm sorry, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, he really did feel true remorse at it because he really cared for the Duke, but he realized like no matter what I do, this guy's gonna die. You know, there's no escaping that fact. So I might as well do it this way. I survive a little longer, and maybe I can kill this guy who's doing it to him out of love for both the Duke and for his wife, who was claimed by the guy who is setting up this whole coup.
Yeah, because he was gonna give her to what's his name, Piter, because Piter was gonna become the new. Like, not Duke, but the ruler over Arrakis.
Yeah, and he was his mentat.
Yeah.
But he was also going to set up Piter to be hated by the people so that his nephew could take over as their savior.
Fade Routha.
Yeah. Beloved Fade Routha.
It's interesting that he didn't think to put Raban back in there, because Raban was already doing like a decent job like gathering the spice, and they still hated him. So I wonder why he was going to completely switch that up. I guess he calls him an idiot and stuff, and he says he can't trust him.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't like Raban, and so he's going to use one of the other two guys instead.
Right, but I don't want to...
He's going to use
set up someone.
Piter, because he trusted Piter more than Raban, but then Piter dies with the whole Yui plot point.
Yeah.
And then, he had to use Raban again in order to set up Fade Ralph.
Yeah, he doesn't trust Raban because Raban is just kind of a glass cannon. He's just not, I don't know, he's not willing to play ball, and he's kind of ruthless in his own way. So he was convinced that Raban was going to try to kill him, which he does, and near the end, he does have a little setup to take his ass out. So he knew the whole time that Raban wasn't worthy, even though he was the better, suited to control the land. He knew that Raban was going to try to betray him,
right?
Because if he did, he would seize power of Arrakis himself, and then, I mean, the Emperor doesn't care. The Emperor just wants the spice. So if Raban kills Tubby McMolester face, then it doesn't really make a difference to him, as long as he gets
Darth Baron Tubby, the pedo.
Darth Baron Tubby. Is that his official?
That's what his
official name.
Because every time he gets a voice actor, he sounds like Darth Vader, and then he's a fat guy, and then he's a pedo.
Yeah.
So
I like the voice. I like the voice actor a lot. I thought that was really cool. His was good. Everyone else's was like, eh.
Yeah,
I think Simon Vance did a better job with most everyone else, but that guy's was really good.
I actually liked Piter's voice actor too when they were both talking together. I thought it was really good.
It was good, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was either Duncan or no, it's not Duncan. It's
what's his name? I know you're talking about, because his voice actor's badass as well.
Yeah.
Duncan, Idaho.
It's
yeah, what a ridiculous name.
Yeah.
Hardcore 1000. It's fucking Achilles, Utah, and Duncan, Idaho, in Dune.
Arrakis, desert planet.
Yeah, no, in Arrakis, desert planet, Dune.
We should we should go to the sand dunes and either record a Conan short or a Dune short.
Yeah,
or it's a
Gurney,
crossover.
You're thinking of Gurney Halleck.
Yeah, Gurney. You know who plays him in the fucking movie or the TV miniseries?
Who?
Think of the best possible person to play him, like the most awesome kind of older guy.
I'm of course thinking of James Earl Jones.
Dude, it's Patrick Stewart.
Oh, nice.
Really?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's fucking perfect.
Do you know who's playing
Patrick Stewart?
Who's going to play him in the 2020 movie?
No.
It's Josh Brolin.
Oh, yeah, Josh. Yeah, he's a pretty good choice,
And
too.
then Jason Momoa is going to be Duncan, Idaho.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weird,
I
but
think that
No,
works.
Duncan had a much
think it'll work.
smaller part in the series than I thought he would, or at least in the book.
yeah. Yeah, he died
'Cause
like
they made him
halfway
seem like
through.
He was like the biggest badass, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm gone now."
Well, he
And I had,
protected him, yeah.
3 lines.
I think that
Yeah.
too, because like I think a few characters like they put in, and you think they're gonna have like a main thing. Like I know like Lee at Kynes did play a pretty big part, but I think he died like way early too, way earlier than I thought he was going
Well,
to.
the
Yeah.
reason-
And as well
you know-
with Mapes, I thought she was gonna be there a lot longer. I thought she was gonna be there like tying line into the Fremen, and then she dies like before Leto does.
You know, I thought there's a lot of stuff in this book that like kind of threw me for a loop because, especially with like everybody like Duncan, Idaho, and like everybody getting separated and stuff was like, because when you hear the in between chapter things with the Princess Irulan, she's like, she said something about like, oh, you know, Muad'Dib had a lot of help from these people, and Duncan, Idaho was one of the people that was mentioned, and he like didn't do anything.
He saved
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
He saved him in Jessica. I mean, that's pretty big.
Well, I mean,
It's a pretty big
but
thing.
like that was the only thing he did, and that character literally only had maybe like
Bro,
10 lines in
he,
the whole book.
So,
And
it's
it,
kinda,
like it's literally a part that could have been relegated to a different character.
it's it's kind of
even one of the Fremen. So it's like
it's
he
kind of
didn't
spoilers
really do anything.
for the next book, but like, so I started reading Dune Messiah, and like, they basically bring back Duncan Idaho as like a zombie.
Oh, that's
Really?
retarded.
Well, yeah, well, like they
Yeah.
take like so like they say like so when they go there the Sardaukar that are there they find his body and they put it in stasis, and so with like their technology they can like keep him in stasis so his body's like fresh and like they talk about like how his like synapses and like all his like reflexes are still the same, but they put someone else's like they made a subconscious to put into it because like they want to like use it against Paul.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that it gets batshit after the first one. So, anyway,
Pretty bad
the
shit
betrayer.
already.
I know. So the betrayal happens. The doctor basically he just paralyzes the Duke, and then everyone's getting blasted. People are getting killed. The whole household's getting overthrown, and it sucks because at first you're like, "Oh man, maybe he'll survive this thing," because like he's doing a really good job leading. Duke Atreides is doing great. Like everyone likes him. They have a close call with the Spice run, and he saves all of the Spice crew, and everyone's like, "Wow, this guy's pretty cool." But of course, the only reason why they had a close call with the Spice run is because it was set up to try to kill him early.
Right.
Because like they stole or they lost one of the ships or whatever.
It disappeared. The Thopter.
Although I don't think that was that. I think that was the doctor setting up the Thopter to escape the kid and the wife.
Well, the thing is, like, it could have been.
But
it
it
could have been so many different things. It could have been that. It could have been Fremen. It could have been anything. You just never explained.
Yeah, it's like wide open. So that's what I thought. But then I was also like, well, that could have just been another attempt on his life because Kynes is there with him, the planetologist, and Kynes is really cool. I like Kynes a lot because his whole plan is like he wants to terraform Arrakis. Like he's obsessed with the idea of like we can make this planet great again. You know, and like,
Somebody was trying
he's
to
like
terraform it before.
Well, the Fremen have always kind of been trying to terraform it in a way, and they have their little oasis and
No,
stuff. They have their area.
That was only because of him, though. That's what.
Yeah,
they
that was
said.
because no. So like, it's part of the prophecy.
He brought them the idea of.
It was in
terraforming.
the prophecy, but he's the one that like brought it to pass, like, and showed them that.
Yeah,
he wanted
yeah.
to do it.
He also taught them like a bunch of stuff, and I think planting stuff was one of them.
He didn't teach them any of the prophecies, though. That was way before. Because
so it's kind of
the prophecies was like the Bene Gesserit chick who was like spreading religious stuff, so that any Bene Gesserit who was happened to be there would be able to manipulate that to get help.
Yeah. So that's like a.
Yeah, I agree.
They have their ancient lore about it, but Kynes is the kind of the catalyst that brought a lot of that to fruition. And he's really cool. Unfortunately, he was involved with the Duke, and he didn't betray him like he could have and should have to survive, and he basically just gets dropped out in the desert, and he has this like awkward hallucination where his father is telling him exactly how they can terraform. And I was like, man, I kind of wish there was an alternate universe where like Duke Atreides didn't die and they terraformed this bitch, because like that sounds really fucking cool.
Yeah,
like, but it's just gone.
There
and then
other books in the series though.
No.
It was really interesting because, like, with Duke Atreides, it felt like it could go either way. Because, like, everybody kept telling you, like, no, he's totally gonna die. No, he's totally gonna die. But then, like, there's a lot of stuff where he was like, "Oh, we're gonna survive. I know exactly what's happening, so we're gonna like counter everything they're doing."
The reason
he was, like,
that
doing a pretty good job, and then like he gets boned.
Yeah,
the reason
you just convince yourself he'll live, and then it's like, oh fuck, I should have known.
The reason we're led to believe like he's gonna die though is because like the Reverend Mother Mohim, she tells him there's no way he can get around it. So, but then at the end of the book, she's with the Emperor, like she's talking to him. So like it's a whole setup by them as well, because they're trying to all keep themselves in control. So it's like maybe there was a way he could have survived, but because from the beginning Paul's told there's no way, he's trying to fight against that, and then it's making him paranoid as well as Jessica, and they're trying to tell him, and Leto's like, you guys need to relax. But then as well, it's like with Yui, he's in there spreading lies, and then information gets back to what's his name, Leto's Mentat. And so like it's just, I think he could have survived, but because of the way they set it up, like politically and strategically, he didn't. There was like, it was a web. There was no way he was ever going to make it out.
Yeah, and I think the betrayal within his own house is what really did him in.
Well, they also did make it seem like if Jessica had given birth to a daughter, then
100%, dude.
Fine.
They're pissed. The Bene Gesserit are mad.
Like, at the same time, it's like, are they actually able to choose the gender of their child? That's interesting.
Oh yeah,
that they
technically, genetically, it's up to the male sperm, because that's the only one that carries the. What is it? The Y chromosome.
Bene Gesserit. She can change.
Yeah, she's a witch.
Molecularly.
Yeah.
And so, like with that, I really do think, like going back to what Kirk was saying, that it was a punishment to her because she did that. Because like when you read
exactly.
into it, and Paul talks about it at the end a little bit to when he's like telling everyone off and like exposing the secrets. It's like the Reverend Mothers. And the Bene Gesserit, like they're manipulating people's DNA to like make and interbreeding to make a quote unquote perfect race, because they have their whole like fucking like perfect person or whatever, like their quote unquote like Muad'Dib.
Yeah, and their whole thing is also like, oh, we only exist to serve, but then like Paul guesses right away that their actual thing is that they manipulate politics. Like that's like one of the very first things that happens is like he's like, oh, you guys do politics, and then she's like, oh, what the fuck? How did you figure that
out? Because he sees all because of the water.
Yeah,
it's because of the water, and because of his Bene Gesserit training, and because of his Mentat training.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes.
The biggest badass.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and it's really interesting because it's kind of like Star Wars in a lot of ways, where it has the science fiction setting, but it has really fantasy storytelling elements to it.
Yeah,
because it's
so much Star Wars at one point.
I know it's a lot Star Wars, because I mean, if you look at science fiction, really all science fiction is like. If it's science-y, then it is science fiction. So, like, it's not weird for it to have fantasy storytelling elements, but this one's, like, hardcore.
I mean,
they have, like,
earlier,
basic
but
magic.
the Baron is, like, everything they could do to give the Baron all of the moral darkness as possible to label him as a bad guy. Almost a Darth Vader figure with his suspensors holding him up like a suit that helps Darth Vader stay alive. The suspensors help him just, fucking walk around because he's a huge fat guy. But then also they just go really in depth to make you feel like he's just the epitome of evil with his sexual leanings towards small boys and stuff like that. Everything they could do to make him seem as evil as possible, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I made the joke about him being
So
like
it's
the Walgreens brand Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Nice.
See, like,
As much as they
The
could do
nice
to make him,
brand.
like the light
Yeah.
versus the dark.
yeah.
Yeah.
The light versus
You
I
can
guess,
definitely
the Empire.
you can definitely see where George Lucas got his inspiration though, like a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Even like I was saying, like Spice. Like even Spice is a drug in Star Wars.
Well, I mean, also with the the planet that Luke's on in the very beginning, like
Yeah.
they have
Right.
moisture farms.
yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
That seems like a thing that would come from Dune. So
No, agreed.
Let us
Yeah,
make the
so-
movie Dune, but better.
So we have that. I mean, Duke Atreides gets betrayed. As the doctor implants this fake tooth that releases this poisonous gas, and he tells him look, Duke, you're gonna die, and I really wish this wouldn't happen to you because I really wanted you to stay alive because I care for you and your family a lot. But I'm gonna save your wife and your son. You're fucked because these guys want you dead, and it was either I die and then you still die, or you die and maybe we have a chance to save your kids and still kill this fat bastard. And so what I need you to do is bite down real hard on this fucking tooth when he's up in your face because he hates your ass, and he's going to get up close and personal, and I need you to poison the fucker and kill everybody in the room. And so Atreides, of course, passes out because he's super drugged. And then the Baron comes in, and he does that very thing. But the Baron escapes the poison. So the Duke takes out his...
The way he survives, I thought was kind of really dumb.
I don't know how he lived when everyone else in there died. It just seems ridiculous.
well, 'cause
Yeah.
But I mean,
he's the only one that he
it helps us...
No,
he was
see,
leaving.
because
He was leaving the room. He was leaving already.
No, he
then when
wasn't.
Duke- yes, he was.
they
He
were
was getting
sitting
ready
down
leave.
to eat.
He was leaving.
They were sitting. No, they were sitting down
'Cause
to
the Duke
eat,
goes,
and the
"I don't
only-
have
the
any
only
other
reason,
choice."
The only reason that he even knew there was poison was because Piter freaked out. He inhaled and was it was like a screech basically, and then he was like, "Oh shit!" So he stepped back and kind of ran a little bit, but he was like, "Oh, the only reason I really lived was because I was wearing my shield and it happened to be on." I was like, "Really?"
Well, he made it
your
through the door as well though because they closed the door.
Yeah, but that was still really dumb. It's your shield stopped gas. That doesn't seem right. I don't know. I don't know how the shield is supposed to work, and they kind of give a small description of it, of how it worked. But at the same time, he was like, "Oh man, if I had been a second later, I would have died too. Oh man, that was really close." And I was like, you probably still should have died because that seems really cheap.
I thought they were gonna kill him there, and it was gonna go to Fade Routha trying to get his revenge.
I thought that too. I thought it was going to be Fade Routha. They were going to do a time skip, and then it was going to be this big confrontation between him and Paul.
yeah,
Which happened later, but
It happened later. It didn't have as much weight or momentum as if he had taken over for the Baron.
yeah, because
I
I
feel
thought
like that
that
would've
was,
been a
I
much
thought
better
that's
ending.
yeah, I thought that too. Because I was thinking because they ramp up this book fucking crazy. He takes over everything at the very end. When I thought the whole first book was basically, oh, there's going to be the confrontation between him and Fade Routha to gain control over Arrakis. I thought that's what the whole thing was basically going to end up being. And I was like, oh, no, never mind. He's just going to fucking take over the universe. Cool.
Bro, when you're a god, you can do whatever you want.
I guess.
Yeah, this book...
But
I mean, it wasn't...
Sorry, go.
It wasn't necessarily supposed to be a huge series. I think this is kind of an interesting thing where it's a standalone, but it has definite possibilities for, a sequel and mini sequels, as it turned out. So I think it's I don't know. I agree with you, Craig. I thought the Baron was going to die there too, and that it was going to be just him and his cousin or nephew.
To me, that would have been a much better.
Yeah, because it also would have.
They could have added intrigue where Fade Ralphus knew about the tooth. Like, he did check him and found out the tooth was there, but didn't say anything about
Fade
it.
Ralpha wasn't on the planet.
Yeah, he wasn't on Arrakis.
I know, but if I were to rewrite it, that's how I would have done it.
Why? But why?
Oh, that could have been cool too. Well, he ends up trying to betray him anyway in the end. Remember, because
I know he does, but like how you guys, if he died there and then it goes over to Fade Ralphus, I feel like that would have been a way to write that in. But it's not the way it was written, so.
Yeah. I mean, I still do like the Baron as a bad guy, because especially later on, his interactions with Fade Ralpha when he's like, "Hey, you're a fucking moron for trying to kill me. I know what I should teach you. You need to back the fuck off for a moment and let me teach you this shit, so you can be a good ruler instead of a moron."
That was such a good scene, dude.
I thought that was really awesome because he was like, Fade Ralpha was backed into a corner. Is like, okay, I can see how I need the old man still. It was like, okay,
and then he's just like, "You're gonna go to the pleasure room and you're gonna kill everyone." He's like, "What?"
Because that was honestly the thing that redeemed it for me, because I was like, it's still really.
Thing?
No. The like the whole thing where he's like, "Hey, you still need me," like that whole thing. Like, because I was like, well, the Duke kind of was unnecessary if he just didn't die. But then I was like, oh, okay, he's like, and then he like teaches him to be more badass. So,
and like same with like at the end of the book too, with like the whole confrontation with Fade Ralpha, I thought it still had some like decent stakes, because like everyone in that room like went from like being like the top dogs to like fucking nothing, and it's like everything Fade Ralpha was groomed for was for nothing. All the betrayals, all the people he killed, they didn't mean anything if Paul just walked in and just won. Like,
but at the same time, like, I also felt that the final confrontation was kind of awkward, because like they built up Paul to be like this fucking monster of a fighter, because they're like none of the Fremen can beat him, because they've been ramping up the Fremen as like the ultimate warriors, the ultimate fighters, and then you got like Fade Ralpha, who's like, yeah, he's decent, but he's still kind of like a bitch boy.
Well, the thing with Fade Ralpha too,
and then
is
it's like, oh well, he's his equal, and only lost because he had that.
Fade Ralpha's legend's bullshit it's bullshit as well, though, because like if you go down to like, oh, it's his like whatever kill in the fighting pits, he's poisoning people. There's words they can say that are gonna like slack their muscles and stuff because they're conditioned to do it. So like his whole legend is bullshit. Essentially.
But I mean like they built up Paul like over the 2 years, like he's been teaching people the weirding way, and like the Stilgar is like, oh man, like I can't take you out, and he was like their best fighter. And they're like, oh yeah, the Fremen are like fucking freaks, man. They fuck up all these other guys, like they're super strong warriors, and it's like, okay, well if Paul can take out all these people, and then he only wins the final battle because like Fade Ralpha gets stuck on the needle that he has on his belt, like really, that's.
But I think there's a difference too. If like you say like the Fremen are all bad, which they are, but it's like, you get used to fighting people. Like, all the Fremen have the same basic, like, how they fight. It's different from going to someone you've never seen and never faced before. Like, him fighting Fade Ralpha didn't know what he was going to do, and he didn't know what he was... Then Paul didn't know what he was going to do. Because they've never fought each other before. Like, it's... You can be a badass fighter, but if you don't, like, know who you're fighting, or what their style is, you can still lose.
Yeah. I kind of liked it, and I liked what you guys were talking about, how they kept the Baron alive. That was a good storytelling thing, because you think he's going to die just like Atreides, but he doesn't. And I liked one of the other things I really liked was just how much these people underestimated the Fremen, because they thought there were like maybe a few thousand of them left, like not a huge population.
Only a handful of them, and there's really like over 1 million.
Yeah,
there's like, yeah. So I liked that. I liked how they just kind of came in and were like, oh, these guys aren't really a big deal.
That makes me question how big Dune is. If there's only like 1 million of the like native people.
Well, they're pretty spread out, though, too. Remember
Well,
that.
I know they're supposed to be spread out, but like they're also supposed to know about each other. And like,
Yeah.
their estimates, like after knowing how many people are there, is still only like 1.5 million or something like that.
I think, maybe Dune needs a census.
It's
Maybe
like,
that's
I
what
also
it is.
know that there's
But
also supposed to be a
also,
lot
it's
of like the
hard to
people
live
that
on
were
the planet.
transported there. Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, like 1 million. It still seems like a bit few.
I mean, it's
Well,
a
they're
planet that's hard
count-
to live on. Most of the people who do live there are just there for the spice trades, and then no one really knew
Right.
how many Thremen were actually there.
When
So,
the reports
censuses do.
the reports he's like the Baron was getting was from one was like spy the what are they called the spice smugglers, and second it was from Raban, and Raban wasn't getting good information. Anyway, that's why
he
took him out.
I think the planetologist was also giving him the numbers too. Like they said something like that and Kynes obviously had reason to like not let him know exactly how many people there were.
Right.
Yeah, and plus it was hard to like go and survey the land because shit would just get destroyed by the sandstorms. Like they couldn't
Right.
just fly over and or have like machines out like the fucking spy droids in Star Wars or whatever, because shit would just get annihilated by the sand. It would just get shredded. So there's a lot of things that are limiting it, but they really just thought they could just waltz in and kind of do whatever they wanted. And the Fremen had their religious idea of their savior coming, the Muad'Dib, and so when everything goes down, Paul and Jessica are basically sent out into the desert to be abandoned into a sandstorm, but it's set up so that Paul can escape, and he basically kills the pilots.
Right.
They get out.
Also,
and
did we ever talk about the voice?
No, we haven't really mentioned it.
So another thing
Yeah.
that Bene Gesserits can do, and that what Paul can do better as well, is that they can pitch their voice to basically break down someone else's resistance and to basically tell them what to do. And then as they're being ditched on that planet, the mom was, about to get raped by these guards, but then she basically used the voice to make an opening for him.
And they used a deaf guy to try to counter that.
Yeah, and so this is a thing that the voice that has been known about. People know the Bene Gesserit can do it. So yeah, the Baron sent a deaf guy there so he wouldn't be susceptible to the voice. So, and this is stuff that Paul's learning how to do as well.
Yeah, so she convinces the guy that's not deaf to kill the deaf guy by telling him he's just gonna take me for himself, and then they kind of just self-destruct, and then those two get away. And then the whole caveat to that is no one could survive in the sand because a huge sandstorm came in.
Yeah, well, it's either that or the
And-
worms. That's really your two options, or the sun.
Yeah.
So they're kind of
And speaking of, the planet's inhabited by these massive fucking worm creatures that just devour everything, and you can't use shields on the planet because the shields attract the worms. There's something about shields that brings their attention, and so that's why hand-to-hand combat is such a big deal down there, is because the shields bring the worms. So you can't risk the protection because everyone will just get eaten by this giant fucking earthworm that comes out. And those are related to the spice in some way. I think they're byproducts of the worm is kind of what
They
I'm
were a
guessing.
byproduct too, but Zach found out what they were.
Yeah.
I'm rechecking to make sure I was right.
This book doesn't explain it all the way,
doesn't,
so and that's really, I don't want to review what happens later, or have that tainted. I mean, it would be interesting, I guess, but so they're directly related to the spice, and everyone knows that, but they don't know how in this first book, at least. And so the worms are important. They can't just wipe out the worms. Everyone knows that. You can't use shields. So this planet's just a giant pain in the ass. But Paul and his mother get captured by the Fremen, and just kind of become part of their society. And the whole time this is happening, one of the guys from their family survived the not the super badass Duncan, Idaho. He died to help them escape into their ship. Or after they escaped, after they got found by the Fremen, they kind of went to a base area, and then that's where Duncan, Idaho died, and like a bunch of people died trying to protect him. And Kynes, that's when Kynes decided. Yeah, Kynes saved him then. That's right. He was involved in that, and then Kynes kind of took their side, which he was surprised by because he was like, "Why am I helping these people? Like, they're not really involved in my mission, even though they totally were." He just didn't know it at the time.
I like that whole thing as well, where like his inner monologues, where he's like, he talks about Leto too. He's like, I shouldn't like him, but I do. And then he's like, oh, he puts people first. That's awesome. And then it goes to like Jessica, where she's like, I want to like when they find that secret like garden inside the house or the keep. That's like all the water.
Yeah,
like,
has all the water and stuff. Yeah,
and she's like, I wanna find a place where we can plant these so everyone can enjoy it. And then he's like, all these people like really do like sort of care.
Yeah, so he takes their side and helps them escape, and that's where we lose Idaho and a bunch of the other people. And then the other guy, the other old bastard. Fuck, for some reason like their names.
The other Mentat guy.
No, not the Mentat. The soldier guy.
Oh, Halleck.
Halleck, yeah, Gurney Halleck. He survives all of this too.
Yeah,
he gets
and
picked up by the smugglers.
The smugglers, yeah.
Yeah, he joins them, and he's kind of doing his own thing for a while. And their household Mentat, they're like, I don't know. He's like their weird like mage dude, basically. It's kind of what it feels like.
He's a really good strategist.
He's like the guard captain, and yeah, he's a strategist.
Yeah, and he was convinced because the Duke was setting it up to make it seem like his wife was the one that was betraying the household because he was on to what exactly was happening, and so everyone was kind of in on this. Well, the Duke and like two other people were in on it, and then no one actually got the information out that it wasn't Jessica. So their household Mentat guy was like convinced that it was Jessica, right? And like so was Gurney Halleck. Like they were like, no one trusts this bitch, and so the Mentat goes over to the Baron McTubby rape face, and kind of helps them because he's like, well, don't have anything else to do, and these guys, Jessica betrayed him, and what am I going to do? Like, they just kind of kidnapped him, and he's like, well, I guess I'll serve these guys. And then another cool little plot convenience that they had was they were feeding him poison, but they were giving him the antidote daily. So, like, if he betrayed him, he was going to die. Was kind of the whole thing. And the Baron is kind of a genius.
Dude, he's good
in this.
He's both a
he
genius
knows exactly what
and
to do.
A moron.
I don't know if he's a moron. He had everything pretty much planned. It's not except for the fact that Paul is Jesus.
He had a lot of stuff planned, and he like knew like, oh hey, they didn't find Paul's body. Obviously, he's still alive. Like he had that suspicion, so he was like good in that way. But he just like blindly believed that the Fremen were nothing, like the whole time.
Yeah, but I mean, everything led him to believe that, though. He just believed the data, and the data at the time was bad. So I don't know. I think he had a lot of great plans, and then also it's like he basically lost to the savior of mankind. So it's like, well, I'm sorry that I lost to the greatest being ever.
He lost
to the savior
sister.
of mankind's sister.
So, yeah, technically.
Who's a 2-year-old?
No, she's 4.
Oh, is she 4? What?
Yeah,
How is she
4? She can walk. She's 4, bro.
She can do a lot of things she shouldn't be able to do.
Right, but she's not a baby.
See, those time skips really mess me up because, like...
Well, and they're not defined. Like, you have to, like, look for the keys, which kind of sucked. I wish they would have, been more...
Well, because, like, when the time skip happened, she was still only, like, a few weeks pregnant. And then it's, like, 2 years later. They specifically say that. And all of a sudden, she's 4? Because, like,
or she's
Paul
3.
is only supposed to be 17.
Sorry, she's 3. He's 18.
So it's like...
Because he's 30 in the prequel or the sequel, and it's 12 years later.
Whatever. Yeah, those time skips are, like, not very well...
No, it's
defined.
really not.
Yeah, so all of that goes down. We learn about the worms. Those guys kind of go and live with the Fremen. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing for a while, and then we get one of those time skips, right?
Oh wait, Rizwell, sorry.
And
everyone starts to figure out like the Emperor is helping the Baron as well, because the Sardaukar.
Oh, they knew already because the Sardaukar.
Well, because the Sardaukar.
Were,
So the Sardaukar were like. So the Sardaukar are like the elite. They come from a prison planet called Salunda Secundus, and it's like they're like the best warriors, and like that's where the Fremen legend keeps coming to, and like because Fremen are like kicking their ass, and so they're kind of like afraid. But so like that's when it starts. The intrigue starts going there, where they're like the Emperor that has to have a hand in this because the Harkonnens couldn't have done it alone.
That right there is another reason why I was like the Baron's kind of a moron because he gets told by a bunch of people at this point, like, hey, the Fremen are kicking these people's ass. And he's like, no, they're not. Your figures must be wrong. It's like that's impossible. And like even the I can't, what's the old Mentat guy's name again? I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
But like he tells him, he's like, yeah, dude, there's like roughly 1.5 million people on that planet. And he's like, no, that can't be right.
But then he believes him because like he like.
But well, yeah, like eventually,
like,
he believes it because he gives him like all this stuff. But then he's like, yeah, but there's still nothing to worry about.
So it's then that same conversation though, he starts believing him because he's like, no, this is what's going on.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, yeah, he starts believing him that there's that many people, but at the same time, he's also like,
then
he
starts telling him, he's like,
there are nothing people. We can just use them for our own purposes.
Well, no, because he goes, it's like it's 3 to 1 on the Sardaukar.
The Fremen seriously were the Sardaukar too.
Yeah, because they want to go back and wipe him out.
Right, but then another intrigue that the Emperor started to distrust the Baron with is he thought he was going to use Arrakis as his own prison planet where he trains the.
Oh yeah, because he tells what's his name.
Yeah, so they're like, well, we could start using this planet and
Fenring.
these people to make it a superior fighting force type of idea.
I think it's funny that like he hints at it, and it makes I wish it would like do a little bit more with like the other houses because I want to know how many people are just like pretending not to know what Seleucus Secundus is. Because like obviously like it's known. If
well,
the Baron,
it was like
the Baron's like hella smart and figured it out.
It became a pretty big shock for the Baron when he like actually figured out what was happening because like he's also supposed to be pretty smart. And he's like, oh, wait, what? They're really doing that?
I just feel like, obviously, like,
yeah,
you
it's
have this,
pretty
like,
obvious.
immense fighting force where, like,
It's
they're
like, well,
fucking people
I mean,
up and they're,
there's all
like, not
these
trained by
levies.
normal means. Like, where is he
Yeah.
going to get those people from? From a fucking, like, they're
Well,
fighting to survive.
I guess it would also make sense because, like, he's supposedly pulling from a number of planets as a levy for his army. So I guess they could see like why that would be the case. But yeah, it's totally because he's using that place as a place to train his best warriors.
Yeah.
So
And so I guess there was a little bit of intrigue because they thought the Baron could be training his own fighting force on the planet.
Which is interesting that he would
Which
say
is kind
that
of what the
to Fenring, because like he knows what happened to Leto. Like, why would you boast of? And I guess like his whole thing was like
that's essentially what like Leto was doing. So that's kind of why they took him out. So,
but I like how he was like, well then I'll just have to tell them the Emperor's part in like Leto's death, and then Fenring just fires back, and he's like, they're not going to believe you, and if they do, they're not going to say anything because there'll be 2 great houses down, and they'll know the Emperor's power.
Yeah, so he was kind of stuck in a hard spot. Both of them were, because it was on one hand it was like, well, if they betray one more house, everyone might turn against the Emperor, but on the other hand, the Emperor could just wipe them out. So the Baron was kind of fucked. And of course,
but
then
he didn't mind being fucked because it would have meant that like his family could have taken that advantage and taken the throne.
Well, yeah, where he's like,
Yeah, that's true.
They could have
I can
rallied
always play the
behind
victim.
Fade Raltha. Yeah, like by playing the victim, he could like have Fade Raltha be the Emperor. So he kind of wanted them to like accuse him of being like treasonous, so that he could like take advantage of that. But he didn't.
Because
do it.
everyone is afraid that the Emperor would crush one of the great houses, but if all the great houses
using
unite,
the
then there's no
Sardaukar,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, so they escape. They kind of live with the Fremen for a while. Jessica was pregnant, and Jessica knows it, and Paul knows it. And then there's this weird scene where Jessica like goes inside herself basically and like touches her baby, and then her baby like gains all of her knowledge.
That's after.
That's after. That's when she.
That's when she drinks the water to become the Reverend Mother.
Yeah. So basically,
during
their ceremony to have the old lady pass on all of her knowledge to Jessica, which also happened to like wake up the baby's fetus.
Well, it's because they didn't know that she was pregnant, and so when she drank the water, the changes that were taking part in Jessica also started taking part in her baby as well. And so there was no real way to get around the baby being affected by it and passing the memories of the Reverend Mother to both Jessica and her baby.
Yeah, so the baby's going to be like basically Solid Snake, where she's going to be really, really advanced, but like she doesn't grow old super fast, but like the baby just knows a lot of things that the kid shouldn't know because her mind was awakened.
Her mind is like fully awakened, and she's basically lived all the lives of the previous Reverend Mothers of the Fremen, and she has all the memories of her own mother.
Dude, it's like being in the Avatar, bro.
Yeah, she's like,
but yeah, she's
basically
able to
born with an
change
IQ of 500
on a molecular level.
Yeah,
using her space magic. And so it's magic, but it's science.
Rules.
But so all of that happens. Paul gets taken in by those people. They kind of assimilate to Fremen life in a lot of ways. That happens for a while. Meanwhile, everything's kind of going well on the Spice Planet, but they're kind of setting up ways to make Fade Ralpha fail in a lot of ways.
That too, and then the setup is also for Paul to take leadership of the Fremen as well. They kind of hint at it. There might be a clash between Paul and the current leader of the Fremen.
Oh,
yeah.
Stilgar.
And to avoid that, Paul basically breaks tradition and says, we need to change if we're going to survive. So we both need to be alive. I'll be the leader, but you'll be the one in command, like in charge, basically. You'll rule with my hand.
Well, that's what he's like, you'll be in charge of the planet. He's like, but when I'm emperor, I'm not going to have time to like look over everything.
Yeah, exactly. So he sets up the planet for success. He also has a Fremen wife that he has. Yeah, Cheney.
She's Liet Kyne's daughter.
Yeah.
She also has a hunting accident where she shoots somebody with a shotgun too. It's part of the name.
Oh my god,
dude! I thought about that too. I was like, man, I really hope like at some point she shoots somebody thinking it's somebody else or something.
So I only like listened to like half the book on audiobook. Do they call her Cheney in the book or in the audio?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Chani.
No,
it might be. I don't know.
It's like a weird in between. Sometimes I feel like, but like it's mostly Cheney. How they say it. So
yeah. So Paul.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
I was saying like another plot point. They kind of I can't remember if they throw it in before that or after. Is with the Bene Gesserit trying to get another child out of Fade Ralpha to continue the Harkonnen line.
Oh yeah.
Keep perfecting. Oh, then like they already found out at this point as well. Didn't Paul found out that he's a Harkonnen, so him and Jessica have Harkonnen blood in him.
Oh yeah, before they go to the Fremen, he sees the future and then sees the evidence of him being or his mom being the Baron's daughter.
Yeah. In this universe, so like in this like thing, we didn't really explain it. The Bene Gesserit are like they're manipulating people's genes. So like they can, it's like no one knows what their actual like who they're like. I don't want to say their parents, but no one knows who their like ancestors are because like of this whole like manipulation kind of thing. So like, I mean I don't know what happens. It doesn't explain it, but I'd like to see in another book like them explain how they do like have children and stuff. Because obviously Jessica had one naturally, but like, how do you manipulate someone's genes like that before? You know what I mean? Like,
it's weird. Science is how. So, yeah, he has a wife, and then he ends up having a kid, too. And you don't really get any time with that kid at all. He's just kind of a placeholder for tragedy.
Leto 2?
Yeah,
Leto 2.
The remix?
Yeah, not as good as the original. So all of this is happening. Feyd-Rautha is kind of losing control of the planet. He's not getting any backup. Things are kind of self-destructing. Everyone's playing politics, and while they're playing politics, that allows Paul to kind of really solidify his power. He goes through a really crazy, like, Bene Gesserit, like, weird fucking transformation thing near the end where he...
Dude, he's such an idiot.
He partakes... Yeah, he does some test that he's not really meant to do that's supposed to kill him, and so he's in a coma for, like, fucking ever.
Well, 3 weeks. The life water.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be...
Dude, the balls on this fucking person. Like, he knows what it does, and he does it anyway, and, like, he doesn't even do it around people. Like, his mom finds him just laying there.
Yeah, he drinks it, like, unchanged, too, so it's, like more potent than it would be.
Well, he learns how to
otherwise.
do the same thing that his mom did, and he learns how to change it on a molecular level,
But that's not until, like, the 3 weeks are up.
Right, so it takes him 3 weeks to learn how to do that. He barely keeps himself alive. And
Is
then
it-
to him,
no-
it's just like a moment to him. To everyone else, it's 3 weeks.
Right. But he doesn't learn how to do it because the thing, like, with the test is you have to have the second person there to, like, flood the water back into you so you can change it for the antidote, and he doesn't have that. And that's why he's out with it, because he doesn't figure out how to do it until Chani, like, puts the water on his lips. Because,
Yeah.
like, he has to have that second person, and him being the dumbass, he's like, oh, I'll just do it.
Yeah, so he learns how to do it, so he takes a drink again right out of it, right in front of her. And then he floods her. Yeah, they all feel like how powerful he's now become.
Yeah, so it's basically the resurrection there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the fall and resurrection of his character. And then he comes out of that super powerful. Everyone's like crying Muad'Dib to the sky. You know, everyone, he is their religious savior of the Fremen, and everyone unites and they fucking take out the Emperor, and they take out Feyd-Rautha. Everyone's destroyed.
The Emperor wants to move in with, the guild and everything like that.
Oh,
They
yeah,
want to
he
control
takes
the planet.
Well, because spice production's down.
The guild is freaking out because spice isn't coming out as frequently as before.
Did we explain, like, why
And-
spice was so important?
No.
Yeah, well...
So spice is important because, like, it's a drug and you can get, like, hella addictive to it. But what it does is it helps you see the future. So, like, that's how they're
If
navigating
you have
space.
the skills
It's because
for it,
they can see it. Well, anyone can as long as you, like, know how to control it. Because, I mean, like, the
Well,
guild
they-
aren't Bene Gesserit. The guild
Yeah,
just
but
does
there's
it.
certain people that are like specific that have like the gift, and like all the Fremen do, but they like block it off, and then like the Bene Gesserit and the guild are like the other people that can use the spice for its like their predictive powers, and then everybody else uses it basically to prolong their lives.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
addicted
so everyone's
to it.
living a ridiculously long amount of time, and so the biggest threat is if the spice production stops, a lot of people are going to die because
Well, then
of
you're stuck
the
on your
drug
planet,
extending their
too.
life. But one thing we forgot to mention is when the Reverend Mother, when they take the life source, then they can see, it's kind of like a weird state of what they can perceive and see. There's this dark place that they're afraid to look. But because Paul the Muad'Dib is a man, he can look into the darkness, the destruction, whereas they can only look at life and creation. And so he's able to look down into the dark place. Did you understand what the dark place is, or what that's supposed to symbolize?
I think it's more...
I think it's the jihad. I think that's what it was supposed to be, and like he kept seeing it, and like he kind of shared it with that Reverend Mother after he had the ability to do the same things that they did, and then she saw the jihad, and then she was like, "Oh shit." So I think that's basically what it's supposed to be, is like the dark future that he essentially was creating.
And I don't know that I'm okay. I'm not going to agree with that, but I think it's a good idea. In my opinion, I think because like when he talks to him, he talks about give and take, and he goes like the women can only give, whereas like the men take. So I wonder if it's looking into yourself and like being selfish enough to like bring something to pass. So yeah, you could say it's a jihad where it's like he's willing to do that where no other person would have been able to do it to like secure a good path.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's like, I can no longer give without taking, and I can no longer take without giving. So.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, I think it's kind of a representation of the yin and yang kind of a thing, and the darkness is like the male side. It's similar to, I'm reading Wheel of Time right now, and it's kind of similar to that, kind of what's going on with this. So like he's able to peer into that darkness because he's a male, but he also has kind of gained control over the female side because he's been able to conquer that test. And the darkness is the jihad. The darkness is the ultimate end of the male half of this thing, I guess, which is just total destruction. And he's able to do that because he's a guy, but he's also able to do the other half because he's kind of tapped into that because of his mom. Because of his training that he's received, from his mother, and so she kind of helped him. And it's funny, the one thing I don't like about his mom is she was super hardcore until Paul started becoming hardcore, and then she was just a fucking wet towel. Like, did you guys notice that? Like, she's just instantly useless.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because like there's a part in the book where like he looks at his mom and is like, yeah, she's my enemy, even if she doesn't realize it. Because like she wants something different for that. Because she's basically unwittingly working towards him having the jihad, and he's trying to prevent it the whole time. And then when he starts working towards the jihad, like when he gives into it, she's like, "Oh shit!" Like he's freaking me out. And it's like, oh, okay, but that's kind of what you were going for anyway.
I feel like as well, like it's realizing it's realizing the monster you made. Because it's just like, oh no, he's doing this. Yeah. So he puts all of his training together, and there's all this political unrest happening that makes it possible for him and the Fremen to basically just destroy the Baron's men. And the Emperor starts bringing his forces in, and the Emperor actually gets taken. Well, because they start using lasers.
They got on this land crawler thing, right? And then in a previous raid, they killed Paul Muad'Dib's son. They captured his sister, and the sister was there on that land crawler thing with them, which is on Arrakis. And then we have this whole scene.
I thought it was like a spaceship.
I don't know what it was.
They got onto a low flying ship, is what it was.
Okay. It's like there's a base on the ground.
He wanted all their guns to shoot their noses, so they couldn't fly anymore.
It was something that was not in space, but they had the sister, and the sister was there being all creepy, and that first Bene Gesserit woman, the one who gave Paul the test, was like, oh, this is an abomination, we should kill this girl, type of thing. Where the Emperor was like, going back and forth, like, trying to, hey, tell Paul, blah, blah, blah. But she was just all, oh, yeah, no.
She's so dismissive. I love her. She's like, I'm not going to tell him that.
And so that was an interesting scene because this is like the first time really you had time to be with the Emperor, see how he acts and the way he's in charge. The Baron was there, and he was basically kind of on trial in a way, where he was in the hot seat with the Emperor, and he was definitely out of control of the entire situation, where the Emperor was trying to assert his control of the situation. But then that's when they used the atomics, or the laser weapons, to penetrate through the shield. And this is a big thing because atomics are outlawed. If you use it, then all of the houses are against you.
Well, if you use it to destroy human life, is like what it was.
The best line is when he shoots when he shoots the shield, and he's like, you broke the accords, and he's like, no, I didn't shoot people, I shot the shields. He's like, it was part of the landscape. Part of the landscape.
Exactly. And so that's kind of how he's going to get around that. But they basically do that, and Paul's sister is the one who kills the Baron.
Yeah, she sticks him with the Gom Jabbar.
Needle with the Garn Jabbar.
Yeah. So Baron's finally down.
I also love how no one questions the fact that she called him grandfather, and that Paul calls
the
Fade Ralph
pale from that.
Yeah, well, I mean, and then he called the Fade Ralph the cousin, which is like I think what she caught then. Yeah, because then she was like, "Oh man, does he know?" So yeah, I mean, like she's the only one that noticed that. like they said it out loud twice in two different things, and it's like, oh,
Did you guys
okay,
think
well,
for a
nobody
second
noticed?
that Paul's sister was going to betray him and become like an ultimate enemy he had to fight at some point? Because I thought for a second like she might go turncoat because of her own plans.
Nah, I didn't really think so.
Yeah, it didn't
That'd
cross
have
my
been
mind.
I knew
But-
he said there was going to be trouble because of her, but like nothing really came about from that. So I'm guessing it's going to be.
I mean,
like,
the
in
trouble
future
is she's
later.
such a little, kind of a little bitch. Like she doesn't listen.
Well,
like,
the
she just-
trouble,
she
the
just says
trouble is
things.
basically from like the fact that she's creepy and everybody's like, ugh.
Oh, and she exists. Because the Bene Gesserit are always going to see her as an abomination, and even then, like
Well, I
Helen-
mean, the
Helen
old,
says she's
the
like
old-
I should have killed Jessica, or Jessica should be killed for this.
Well, yeah, but she also says, "Oh man, her son actually is like the savior thing that we were looking for." So that's enough to forgive her, even for the abomination. She
Yeah.
said that, so it's like, so I don't know what the trouble is supposed to be. Maybe,
But
but-
anyways, through that conflict and through the Baron dying, Paul finally got the Emperor to agree to meet him as Duke Atreides in the original house to have a confrontation with him and a deal with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he really
so,
didn't have a choice. Like, he got backed into a pretty
Yeah.
big corner.
yeah, they were still
so-
trying to betray him when they had the old Mentat have like the this like needle where if he had touched Paul, then it would have like stabbed him, and then he would have died because it was coated in poison. But then he refused to do it. So
And so
Yeah, so the Mentat, their Mentat, Howard, or Howard, yeah. He reunites with Paul Atreides at the very end, and he has like a touching little moment where he's like, "Oh, I never meant to, betray you." And he basically has the chance to poison him. He's commanded to poison him by the Baron and kill him, but he says he can't do it, and he painfully dies because he has that poison in him,
yeah,
and he hasn't been given the antidote, and so he dies like in front of him in like a horrible way for his loyalty. And so all of this is happening like right at the very end, and yeah, this is where Peter pretty much just kind of takes over the Emperor. He has him in a corner.
Well,
he
that's
fights.
also where he has that fight he has with
Fade Rautha.
Fade Rautha.
Fade Rautha, and where he does beat him, but then we kind of glossed over this character. But there's certain time because Paul can see the future. He can see many branches, but there are different periods of things or people he can't see the future about.
He calls it like
That is-
what does he call it? He calls it something where he's like, it's too turbulent. He's like, because there's too many like ways this could go.
Right.
That the future's not set in stone. Like he calls it like the
so-
current or something like that.
The Emperor has an assassin, and he can't interpret him, and so
Yeah,
he's like, "This
it's
could be
the-
the one who kills me. This is the
It's Fenring.
It's Count Fenring, yeah. And the reason that
And
Count
so-
Fenring is
Right, he has this moment of realization when he sees him because he felt like the Emperor was about to tell him for him to fight him, right, to kill him. But then he realizes that Fenring was him, like that was an attempt to make who Paul is.
Yeah,
and so he feels that instant of bond and brothership with that guy.
Yeah, and I guess the guy felt it too because like he's like, oh, you're what
Yeah,
I
he's
was
like-
supposed to be, and so he's
Well, he's like,
yeah,
I can't do this.
Yeah, I can't kill
Well,
that
they
guy.
made him a eunuch. They basically made him a eunuch and made it so he could not be him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which
Also,
is-
Fade
his
Rautha.
wife is pregnant with Fade Rautha's kid at that point as well.
Yeah, Fade Rautha played by Sting in the 1984 movie, so that's pretty sweet.
I didn't know that.
That's funny. I love it when like musicians play things. Like Sting is in a few movies, and then also fucking Meatloaf. Like how awesome was Meatloaf in that really shitty fucking movie?
And then Ice Cube. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. So
and then
they
you
have the
got-
big showdown.
and then you got Sticky Fingers in House of the Dead too.
Of course, yeah. Who could forget? So we have the big showdown between Fade Rautha and Paul, and Paul ends up killing him.
Dude, he freaking brains him, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he stabs him with the knife through his chin and like up into the brain.
That was
So
great.
Paul kicks his ass, and the Emperor is basically just backed into a corner and
He's like, yeah,
can't really do anything.
He's like, yeah, the only way out of this is if you give me your daughter, and then I become emperor, essentially.
Dude, and
It's
like,
Yeah.
Irulan's kind of a bitch at that point too. She's like, "Don't worry, Dad. I've been trained for this. Like, go live on Seleucus Secundus. Like, fuck you. I'm royalty."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you.
And
bitch.
it's funny. It's funny because Cheney is like all sad because this is going to be his new wife, but then
Paul's
Jessica's like, no,
Paul's like, yeah,
it'll just
no. I'm only
she'll
gonna
she'll
fuck
be
you.
my. Yeah, she'll be my wife in name only. You're my true love. But it's funny because all of the like in between chapters are from this girl that he's about to marry, and she doesn't seem pissed. So I think he ends up getting into it.
No, you need to read the next book.
Well, I really don't
They
like
do
that
make
it's.
Jessica makes a joke about like her liking or about Irulan writing books and like liking that. She's like, because she's gonna have a lot of time to do that.
Well,
And
the
it's
thing too is
oh,
like,
okay, because like every in between thing was from one of her books.
so
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
as well. I guess we didn't talk about this either. Where it like kind of ties together with Jessica and Cheney is like Jessica was never married to Leto because she was just supposed to be a concubine, but he fell in love with her. And so he didn't marry to make himself open to like political, like in case he had a political thing to do. So it's kind of like it mirrors him and Paul, where like, even though like she's not technically his wife, it's still like the person he loves the
I
most.
thought
so
that was
that's really
interesting that they like put a lot of mirroring between him and his dad, but then like they kept saying how much he was acting like his grandfather.
weird. Who's made out to this huge fucking douchebag too. Like
Yeah.
no one really has good things to say about the grandpa.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, yeah. So that's basically the book.
Yeah,
So-
that's Dune right there. That there's a lot of sand, a lot of lack of water. You know, they bleed people out so they can steal the blood and then convert it to water because
A
it's
lot of
the-
moments in Star
they
Wars come from this, like the little assassin bug that was dropped into his room.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then he used
this
the Force to catch it.
yeah.
pretty much, yeah. This book is really easy to read, though. I think it's a really well written story. And like I said, I was actively thirstier while I was listening to this thing. Like, I don't know, the way it's portrayed,
Yeah, I
the
was
way.
constantly,
Arrakis.
recycling my urine while listening to this book. Like,
Yeah, I think all of us turned into Bear.
You had to wear your
turned into-
still suit.
just
We all
fucking-
turned into Bear Grylls while we were reading this fucking thing.
It provides
Any
adapt,
excuse to drink our
overcome.
own, any excuse to drink our own piss, we took it. You know. But seriously, though, I think it's excellently written. I like the political intrigue. I like that it kind of fits as a standalone in a lot of ways. But also, it's totally wide open for sequels and things like that, which obviously happened.
Just a fucking straight up catheter from your dick to your mouth, just as you're walking around. Just,
Don't judge me, bro. I'm conserving
it's
my water.
my still suit, man.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a still suit
I
malfunction?
hope-
You just get a big old just mouth of piss. Like, what the fuck?
I only lose 2 thimblefuls of water a day.
Instead of a camel pack, I'm packed around my bladder pack. You know.
Yeah. Tube in, tube out. Yeah, seriously though, I think it's great. I liked how they rode the worms. We forgot to talk about that. They
Yeah.
That was his defining moment that really made it to where he was the leader. In name.
Yeah,
and
that was like
where
that
he
was
could
like
prove he could
the
ride
that was the
worm.
last thing that was blocking him from being like a true Fremen.
Yeah, because it's a rat pack.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to get like a firm mental image of what these worms look like, because it's like a bunch of like linking segments, so where they could put the riding knives in between the hooks to grab a segment.
but then they also
And since
said it was
pulls that
scaled
segment
and
open,
stuff.
So
Yeah.
it pulls the segment open, and then the sand's abrasive to that open segment, so it won't want to go back down underneath the sand.
Dude,
Yeah,
the whole time I was thinking of Tremors. Just like every time they mentioned a worm, I was like, oh, it's Tremors. Okay.
I imagined like a potato bug, like with the scales, but like obviously larger, and you can fit a knife under there, and that's how they kind of got under the armor. But they're really cool. I thought that was really sweet. I thought it was cool how they kind of evaded the sandstorm, and like how brutal Arrakis is, and how human it is to find something that's so brutal and so ridiculous and just like want to overcome it. And like everyone wanted to do that. I thought the idea of terraforming this planet was really fucking cool.
Or if there's wealth to be gained, we'll do what we can to obtain it. I'm willing,
Exactly, yeah.
I'm willing to sacrifice you for this.
Oh, speaking
Yeah,
of
or
riding the worms, though, the fact that like the Fremen rode the worms into Arakeen at the end of the battle, and like all the Sardaukar just like shit themselves because it's like
that was really cool.
They're prepared for anything but fucking that. Like they just like see it and they're like, oh. And even
They're
the
like,
Emperor's
"Holy
like,
shit."
even the Emperor's like, oh fuck. He just like runs into his
These
ship and
worms
hides.
are like, it's not just like the worms are dangerous; they're devastating. They can just destroy basically
they're
anything that goes
huge.
in the
Oh, yeah,
desert.
'cause they're
They're
huge, yeah.
gigantic.
I want to know what the worms look like in the movie.
yeah, I don't know.
Probably like the ones in Tremors.
Well, let's find Uncle Google.
Yeah.
I'm Googling it right now, too, actually.
Just see a lot of art, but yeah, they're huge. They're fucking massive. Like, how do you even get close enough to hook one, basically?
Yeah, that's basically what I was envisioning right there.
Yeah, but they're fucking huge. It's like...
They told you how.
I
They gotta
know.
get 'em
You
while
gotta
they're
get
coming
so
out of the
close.
ground.
I don't know
But
if
how-
I agree
but how
with
do you
this
get
picture of them
close
with the
enough?
leash, but
How do you even get close enough? Because the Earth itself is going to be destroyed just by being close to it.
Oh, there's a movie clip. Riding the Sandworm, 1984 Dune movie. Oh, man. Oh, my God. What? Dude, the Dune... So the Guild Navigators are like little wormy dudes.
what?
I'm going to
Is
send a
that
picture
just
to the
movie
chat.
weirdness thing?
No, this is like art from like the book stuff. What the fuck?
That doesn't make any sense. They're supposed to be people that wear like gray suits.
So the second book, it does bring in like alien species.
No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of liked it better with everybody just being people.
I'll send you a picture.
Yeah.
This is the picture I just sent you guys. It's the Guild Navigator.
Oh, that's fucking weird. That's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no.
Creepy as shit.
That's
They specifically
Bullshit.
They specifically say they were like wearing gray suits and looked like people. So
Some of them,
I
like,
don't
yeah,
know
the
about
people,
that.
the people that are talking to him. This isn't like a guild war. This isn't like one of the people. It's a navigator. These are what are navigating the ships. These are the reason they can fly through space.
well, no, those two guys that were at the end of
They
the first
weren't-
book
they
were
weren't
navigators. Yeah, they were.
No, they weren't. They were. They
yes,
were
they
talking
were.
people.
They
were
specifically
there to, like-
said
They were
that they were
talking people.
They
Yeah, they were
specifically
talking people.
said that they were navigators.
It did not.
That's yes, it did. That's
No,
why
it
they
didn't.
believed him when he said that he would destroy
False.
all the spice.
You're wrong,
Dude, I
Craig.
promise you that they were both navigators.
Hashtag wrong.
No, dude, they were both navigators.
Listen,
They
I'm
spec-
just trusting Frank
specifically
Herbert's
said that.
pictures. I'm just trusting Frank Herbert's pictures. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't think that's from Frank Herbert.
Hey, listen, I'm just.
Frank Herbert's a fucking liar, dude.
I'm fairly certain that's not from Frank Herbert.
Oh, this is the equivalent of Craig screaming out in the theater. That is an inaccuracy at a comic book trailer.
Wait.
You guys remember that? You remember that, Cameron?
No.
Yeah, I remember.
There was some trailer that was happening. Yeah, and Craig just yells that out in the theater. All this trailer's going on.
I have never yelled in a theater, so that's a lie right there.
Well, you called it out. I don't know if you screamed, but you called it out in an upset tone at a trailer that was for a movie.
The nerd rage was palpable.
Yeah, that was what you said.
What was it for?
Dude, I can't remember. It was a long time ago, though. It was like before before the Avengers movie came out. But like there was something that happened, and you like called it out in the theater,
dude.
And it was it wasn't during a movie; it was during a trailer for a movie.
Someone made a diorama. They have one of those large gummy worms, and they have like a little gummy bear tied to the top of it. I want to do that now.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of fun reading this. I think this is. I pounded it too. I read it really fast because I was really into it.
Read, yeah.
I think the first half is more interesting, so I'm kind of more interested in the planet and like the science behind surviving there. Yeah. Which kind of died with Duke Atreides, sadly, but.
I mean, just the terraforming and living on a harsh planet. I think that's not quite pertinent to us in our day, but could be soon with us. Looking at Mars, and now everyone's always thinking about terraforming Mars and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of like a. Dude, I don't know. That's just
there's giant worms on Mars. We just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, confirmed.
Yeah, we're vastly underestimating Mars's population. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this thing. I'm really glad we chose this. It was a good pick, Zach.
Thanks. I was really looking forward to reading it, and I wasn't disappointed.
I had always intended to read it at one point or another, but never got around to it. So I'm glad you picked it.
Nice.
Yeah, same. I had always kind of known it was supposed to be really good, and it definitely turned out to be pretty fucking good. Probably one of my favorite science fiction books. I haven't really read a whole lot of science fiction other than Jurassic Park. It's like Jurassic Park books, and then this.
Oh, those are so good.
I know, I really like those, but that's kind of it for me for science fiction.
All right, Zach, right here. At the end of the novel, two self-identified guild navigators accompanied the Emperor are described as fat but not otherwise human.
but not otherwise human, right? Is that what it said? Is that?
Yes,
no. Did it just say no? It said otherwise not human.
It said not otherwise human, but at the same time, it also describes them as being humanoid in the fucking Wikipedia. So it's super weird.
Humanoid
just
means you're like bipedal. So I actually saw another picture like that.
But the picture you sent was definitely not humanoid.
Yeah, but there's so I guess there's got to be more than like the original kind, but that still says it's a guild navigator.
It says it's a fictional humanoid in the Dune universe right there.
But I saw a picture with another dude as well. I can send you just a second. They kind of look like, I don't know how to describe them.
But I was right. There's two guild navigators at the end of the book.
Yeah, but you were wrong when you said they were like humans. So.
But they were, because they're humanoid.
Shh, you're wrong.
Unlike the thing that you sent me.
Hey, it's okay.
So.
It's okay to be wrong. It's okay.
I know, I was right.
Craig, it's
so
okay.
It's fine.
It's okay to be wrong. It's okay.
No, I was right though.
Hey, buddy, it's okay.
I was right.
But you weren't.
It's so okay to be wrong that he's right.
But I was right.
You were right in the fact that you were wrong.
No, I was right. Because you said that there weren't guild navigators at the end of the book, and I was right.
So I was okay. So you were half right because I was half right. So I mean, together
but they're also humanoid,
right.
and those
two things. And that's what you're saying. I'm sorry that you're wrong. I'm sorry.
The thing you sent was definitely not human in any way.
Craig, I'm sorry that Frank Herbert had this picture. That's not my fault. I didn't tell him to do it.
That's not his picture.
I didn't tell him to do it.
It's not his picture because it's not what he described.
Let's see. Dude, I'm sorry you're wrong. It's okay.
No, I was right. Fuck you.
Craig,
there's more art with that navigator that he sent. It's like in a tank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like the miniseries also has like a weird alien-ish version from the picture I saw.
Yeah, this has a miniseries feeling to it.
I'm kind of tempted to watch the miniseries now, but I don't. But I've heard like it's not very close to the book in a lot of ways, but I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in watching it. I wonder if the movie's still going to come out because there's supposed to be another one this year.
Yeah,
2020. Yeah, but we'll see what happens with the virus and everything. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So, Cameron, do you know what you want to read next? Because your choice is...
Yes, I have not yet picked, but as soon as I do know, I'll have Craig tweet it out, yeah.
Why do you have me tweet it out? You have access to the Twitter.
I don't know, it's just you're the one who does the tweets all of a sudden, so...
Oh? All right, well, you should come up with something.
I will.
Because we gotta... What, do we have to finish it up this month, too? In order to keep up with our book a month?
I guess technically, yeah, but we don't... It's not really the end of the world if we don't. Just would like to catch up at some point.
I'll think of something. I'll tell you before the end of today. But, yeah, it's a good book. If you haven't read it, you should. And
Agreed.
Maybe think about watching the first movie. I heard it wasn't good, though.
Yeah.
It's got a cult following, so, I mean, it's definitely very divisive.
Yeah, I could see how it has a cult following. It was pretty good.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah,
The movie? No. I thought we were talking about the book still.
Oh, sorry.
No, the book's got a very wide... It's kind of looked at as like one of the best science fiction books ever.
No, I wasn't expecting it to be like 65. That's kind of a...
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You can definitely see the influences it gave to like modern sci-fi as well, though.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. I guess that's it for this episode of The Drunken Tomes. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. All of us like the book, so you should listen to Dune, and I guess Cameron will tweet out what we're going to be reading next. We'll probably also let you know in the Discord channel as well. If you want to follow us, you can follow me at UFF Podcast. Also, my pinned tweet is an invite to that Discord channel, so if you want to join the conversation there, please go there and click on that link and join the Discord. That's where we're talking about Dune and any and every book that we read from now on. So, where can they follow you guys at?
Me at Obsidian Bar.
Me at Nude Clan Cam.
Me at B Grixis.
And the podcast at Nude Clan Podcast. That's where we'll announce the next book. Guys, I guess we'll see you next time. We got to come out. Oh, should we have like different closers for this, or should we just?
Nah, we don't need a closer for this one.
Oh, okay. We'll just cold close.
And
That's a wrap.